That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan and Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan and Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays. It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the news with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 501. Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 19th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. Another beautiful day on the way. High 61. Enjoy it because it goes downhill a little bit after this. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 46. And then Thursday, showers in the morning, clouds in the afternoon. The high is only going to be 52. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it is 37 and clear in Mount Kisco up in Westchester County, 36 and clear in Lebanon over in New Jersey, and it's 43 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Butch and Suni are finally back home. The battle over congestion pricing will get very interesting come Friday. There's a murder mystery in a mechanic's garage in Queens. A peeping Tom gets caught in the act at Woodbury Commons. And some Long Island towns have found an innovative way to get rid of geese. All right, let's get into it at 5:02. We'll start with what is some breaking news from overnight. 7 people injured when a van crashed into a laundromat on Staten Island. Police say an unmarked white van slammed into a building. This was South Avenue off Arlington Place about 7 o'clock last night. First responders found the driver conscious with severe body trauma, and a total of 7 people rushed to area hospitals with what they're now calling non-life-threatening injuries. A lot of neighbors were out because it was a beautiful night, and they saw this accident took place.
I heard the bang. I thought the car got broadsided. So I ran outside, look, I see the telephone pole. I said, what the hell? And I all of a sudden hear a girl screaming, ah! So I forgot my phone. I ran back and I got my phone. I was walking down the block. I called 911.
Yeah, so witnesses say some of the victims were in the van. Others were inside the laundromat. Either way, they say it was a pretty ugly scene.
Standing there by the deli, and it was the van just jumped out of traffic immediately, started doing 90 miles an hour, ran towards the laundry and knocked the entire light pole down.
Police still investigating the cause of the crash. They say they have not ruled out drugs or alcohol as factors. At this hour, they have not made any arrests, but it's only 5:04 in the morning. The 2 new NASA astronauts back on Earth after a 9-month stay on the International Space Station. Suni Williams, Butch, I'm going to butcher his name every day. I think I'm not going to have to say it anymore. I almost said it again. I said the B word. But it's Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore. There we go. I said it without saying it wrong.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
There must be something about putting Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore together that it comes out with that I instead of a U in Butch, but I'll figure that out later. But they had stayed far longer than they had planned, of course, aboard the International Space Station after issues with their Boeing Starliner spacecraft that took them up last spring. So an 8 or 10-day tour turned into this 9-month one. You probably know the story. So they returned to space, or rather Earth, in a SpaceX capsule yesterday around 6 o'clock, splashing down off the coast of Florida near Tallahassee. Here's the play-by-play, or actually, here's the Russian cosmonaut who was up there with them. Of course, happy to be back home.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Nick, Alex, Butch, Suni, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
She got Butch right. Then play-by-play of the hatch being opened and the astronauts being lifted out.
This is a pretty exciting moment because it will be the crew's first breath of fresh air since boarding their ships at the start of their journey. That is none other than Suni Williams. Big smile, big waves. Once again, some elation and cheers there from Butch Wilmore.
So following the splashdown, the only person we heard from was the commander, Nick Hague, said his crew happy to be back on Earth.
It is an amazing what a ride. I see a capsule full of grins ear to ear.
Yeah, that was once they were in the water. So back on Earth, now there is no specific timeline until Sonny and Butch are reunited with their families. And obviously they want that to happen soon, but they got to check out how they are physically, that kind of thing.
I know they're going to fly back here tonight. They'll probably spend some time rehabilitating a little bit, and the doc's watching them, and then they'll rejoin their families in the next day or so.
Yeah. The White House says President Trump, Russian President Putin have agreed to start talks on a limited ceasefire with Ukraine. Correspondent Keir Simon says there's still a lot of work to do.
But there are many ways in which the White House and the Kremlin do not appear to have agreed. Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire a week ago that covered all combat. That is not what the Kremlin said it would do.
So Putin and Trump had a lengthy phone call Tuesday morning to discuss an end to the war.
The US and Russia have agreed to a cessation in hostilities directed at energy infrastructure. President Putin here in Russia saying he has immediately ordered his military to stop such action.
In a post on Truth Social, the president described the call between him and Putin as very good and productive. He added that many elements of a contract for peace were discussed. The Kremlin wants a prisoner swap to take place as part of this process, but they say so far, so good. WABC News Time 5:09. The Department of Justice says no deportation flights left the U.S. after an order by a federal judge was placed to stop the planes from leaving. Correspondent Garrick Hake says some of those who were deported say they are not gang affiliated.
I just spoke to the immigration attorney for one of those men who said not only has her client never been charged or convicted of any crime, the government's only evidence against him is a tattoo they say shows his gang affiliation. He says is nothing of the sort.
In a court filing made yesterday to meet a deadline set by Judge James Boasberg, the DOJ still refused to say exactly when the flights carrying alleged Venezuelan gang members left. The lawyers say providing those details would be inappropriate because the Trump administration did not go against the order. But they said they would be willing to give more information in a private setting. They said this is not for the public.
The White House is now in a growing legal battle with the federal judiciary after the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court issued a rare rebuke of the way the White House was talking about a lower court judge who's examining those weekend deportations of hundreds of people who the White House says are members of a Venezuelan street gang in this country.
So President Trump had pushed for the judge to be impeached, leading Supreme Court Justice John Roberts to say that that's not an appropriate response to a disagreement with the judge's ruling. The Sierra Club suing Doge and Elon Musk for firing federal workers at national parks. They want reinstatement for those national park employees.
There's a lot of work that goes into making a park presentable and safe for the high season when millions and millions of people visit.
Gloria Smith is the managing attorney for the Sierra Club's environmental law program, and all about 3,400 jobs were cut by the Trump administration in an effort to curb unnecessary government spending. That's roughly 10% of the national parks workforce. A federal judge is indefinitely blocking now the shutdown of the U.S. Agency for International Development.
The judge ruled in favor of a group recently fired USAID employees and contractors by granting in part their request for a preliminary injunction. In the order issued Tuesday, the judge said the dismantling of USAID by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency likely violated the Constitution. The judge ordered Musk and Doge to reinstate access to email and other systems to current USAID employees and also prevented any further action by the Trump administration related to the shuttering of USAID. I'm Lisa Taylor.
WABC News Time 512. Cops in Las Vegas investigating after a slew of cars were set on fire At a Tesla service center, police say the suspect, who's in custody, threw Molotov cocktails, fired multiple rounds into the vehicle. Seems like he was trying to make a political statement, but they don't know for sure.
I'd like to point out this was a targeted attack against a Tesla facility.
Of course, Tesla, as you no doubt know, is owned by Elon Musk. That's Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin. Meanwhile, police in San Diego say it was discovered that vandals spray-painted profanity on a Tesla dealership building, as well as swastikas on cars there. Clearly, it seems, again, like a political statement against Elon Musk.
We've increased our police presence, in particular at Tesla locations or any Tesla-related locations in the valley.
Yeah, so this comes as Teslas have been targeted in several incidents across the nation due to Elon Musk's work with the government and Doge. Assistant Las Vegas Sheriff Dory Corrin says security has now been stepped up outside some of those Tesla dealerships. The Republican Congressional Committee is out with a list of seats they think they can flip in next year's election. A couple of them are down in Texas. Rice University political analyst Mark Jones says they're both on the border with Mexico, where the GOP has been gaining ground in the last couple of years.
Have to see if that support continues throughout the Trump administration, or whether some of the policies that Donald Trump is pursuing alienate some South Texas voters.
So he predicts big bucks will be pumped into the border towns of Brownsville, Laredo, trying to turn them red. Last election, Congressman Gonzalez and Henry Cuellar both won their races, Democrats, but just a few percentage points. I mean, really close races.
Republicans, when they look at these districts, especially in Texas, see these as districts that they came very close to winning in 2024. One of the reasons why it stayed blue so many years is because Henry Cuellar is a centrist Democrat whose policy profile fits the district's profile very well.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason he was able to hold on to his seat. Tim Walz, remember him? He was the vice presidential candidate, the Minnesota governor who was on with Kamala Harris. Haven't heard from him in a while, but he was speaking out yesterday. He was on Gavin Newsom's podcast, and he was slapping Democratic leader Chuck Schumer around for supporting that measure to stop a government shutdown. If you weren't following, Schumer sided with Republicans, so there would not be a government shutdown, and it sparked backlash from a lot of Democrats on the left, including Tim Walz, who says that Schumer should be standing up for Democrats against the Trump White House.
I think you should have made Donald Trump justify why things were getting so bad, and we as governors would do our best to protect the most vulnerable. That seemed to me to be the fight we should have had.
Yeah, he's worried about the midterms now. Walz warned that Democrats might face blame for any negative outcomes stemming from Schumer's decision. On the Senate floor before Friday's vote on the spending bill, Schumer called the bill bad, but said the government shutdown would be worse, and that's why he sided with Republicans. All right, 5:15. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Hump Day. Good morning, Justin Eller.
Happy Hump Day. Good morning to you, Noam All-Layden. We'll start here in the NBA out in Boston. The Nets fell to the superior Boston Celtics by a score of 104-96. The Celtics rested injured stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown against the struggling Nets, but Boston still had plenty down the stretch to hold off. Brooklyn, D'Angelo Russell led the Nets with 18 points. Zaire Williams scored 15, and Cameron Johnson and Trenton Watford added 11 points apiece. Coming up next for the Nets, they'll visit the Pacers in Indiana come tomorrow night. As for the Knicks, they're back at it tonight in San Antonio, getting set for an 8 p.m. tip-off against the Spurs. You had some first four play-in games last night, a couple of them to be exact, for the NCAA basketball tournament. The final for the 11 seed in the South region was North Carolina 95 over San Diego State 68. And the earlier game, the 16 seed in the South region, Alabama State bested St. Francis 70-68. Tonight, 6:40 p.m., you get your final two first four play-in games. For the 16 seed in the East region, it'll be Mount St. Mary's going against American University at 6:40 p.m. right before a 9:10 p.m. tip-off sees Xavier versus Texas for the 11 seed in the Midwest region, all before round one action gets underway tomorrow night.
Those play-in games counted in the brackets, or does it start after that?
No, the brackets start on Thursday.
That's
so if you're if you're submitting a bracket, on ESPN or wherever you do it.
No, you got to do it at WABCRadio.com.
Exactly. You got to do it at WABCRadio.com. The Big Bracket Basketball Big Bracket Challenge?
I mean, I could read it, but I'll wait till you're done and then I'll tell people about it.
Can you say that again, please, for me?
The Big Bracket Basketball Bracket Challenge.
3 times fast.
Okay, again.
There's just a lot of B's in there, Louis. A lot of B's, a lot of brackets, a lot of bigs, a lot of basketballs.
No, I'm saying I was
now
impressed.
Say Butch Wilmore, if you could do that.
Butch
because I haven't been able to say it right all week. So.
Talk about an American name, Butch Wilmore. Yeah. My goodness gracious.
Now say the Dodgers pitching staff.
To the NHL here in the ice of the Garden, the Rangers dropped a close one to the Calgary Flames. The final score there 2-1. They dropped out of the second wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference with Montreal's win over Ottawa. Up next for them, they'll host Toronto tomorrow night. To Pittsburgh, Pierre Engvall scored the tie-breaking goal in New York's 4-goal third period, and the Isles rallied to beat the Penguins 4-2. They'll host the Montreal Canadiens next come tomorrow night. They're now 3 points out of a wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. And Louis did mention the Dodgers and their highly touted, I should say, pitching staff. So you get them today, the MLB Tokyo Series, the MLB World Tour, 6:10 a.m. first pitch this morning. Dodgers and Cubs live from Tokyo. That's your Sports Know. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Yeah, there's 77 WABC Big Basketball Bracket Challenge back. The bracket has been set. It's time for you to make your picks. Go to WABCRadio.com /bracket right now. Fill out that bracket, pick your winners. First place wins round of golf for 2 at Crystal Springs Resort. You heard me. It's the 77 WABC Big Basketball Bracket Challenge. Go to WABCRadio.com /bracket right now.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 521. The Pentagon preparing to eliminate between 50 and 60,000 civilian jobs over the next couple months.
On Tuesday, a senior defense official said the job cuts will hopefully happen via voluntary resignations and by not replacing workers who leave. The Pentagon will also begin firing probationary employees. The plan is part of the Trump administration's efforts to cut the federal workforce. I'm Mark Mayfield.
While we're down in Washington, Vice President Vance going to serve now as the finance chair of the Republican National Committee.
The RNC said Vance will be the first sitting vice president to concurrently serve in the role. Vance said the RNC must keep and grow the Republican majorities in 2026 to fully enact the MAGA mandate. President Trump praised Vance, saying he would do a fantastic job and he knows how to fight and win tough races. I'm Brian Shook.
We go from Washington to the Dominican Republic, where Sudiksha Kanaki, the 20-year-old college student who went missing during spring trip to Punta Cana, she's still missing today. But now her family has come forward to say they are convinced that she drowned in the surf, which was the original story we had heard. The State Department was asked about this yesterday. Have they gotten involved in this case at all?
We won't discuss a private situation, a private case. Certainly when it comes to diplomacy, diplomatic relationships between one country and another, I'm not going to go into those details.
So Sudiksha's family expressed their belief that she drowned. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office in Virginia, that's where the family's from, said in a statement on Tuesday, while a final decision to make such a declaration rests with the authorities in the Dominican Republic, they say they support the Kanaki family in every way possible while continuing to review the evidence. Now, the man we have not really named on the show because he hasn't been charged with a crime, Down, who was seen last with her, was present at a court hearing in the Dominican Republic yesterday, but the outcome of that proceeding has not yet been disclosed by authorities. So so far they have not announced any charges against him. During the proceeding, the judge granted the man's request that he was able to move freely without police supervision. They said okay to that, and they even thought that maybe he'd be able to get home, which would play into the story that maybe she really did drown in a big wave, which is what he said early on in this case. Either way, just a terribly sad story. Down to Florida, where a man is facing serious charges for social media threats against President Trump. St. Lucie Sheriff says Kendall Todd was arrested at his home in Fort Pierce yesterday.
Today we took into custody white male, 42 years old, regarding threats to the President of the United States.
written threats that were made on Facebook account. We had a risk protection order for Mr. Todd that we've been watching him for several days.
Yeah, so Todd made continuous threats to cause bodily harm to Trump. He went before a judge. Bond set at $500,000 home. They did a search of his home conducted by the sheriff's office, and they didn't give us all the details of what they may have found inside.
He has made continuous threats to harm our president, who I had the opportunity to meet with last night. And I just want to say to Mr. President Donald Trump, we're here to protect you, protect this community, and keep St. Lucie County safe.
524 will head over to Texas, where there's a push to clarify the Lone Star State's near total ban on abortions. State lawmaker there says the goal is to make it clear when a doctor can legally perform the procedure in order to save a mother's life.
In my 24 years here, this is the most important bill that I've ever carried.
So his legislation, his name is Charlie Guerin, does not expand abortion access or change the exceptions. Instead, it calls for continued education requirements for doctors and lawyers working in the healthcare field.
I have friends whose wives can no longer conceive because of the delay that doctors faced in addressing the problems.
Yeah, so Guerin says again, he thinks this is a very important bill.
I told the governor, if I ever make you mad this session, you have to veto something, you can veto everything else, but you leave this one alone.
While we're also down in Texas, Republicans there want to force public school districts to set aside time for voluntary prayer during the school day. That effort being led by a state senator.
We are a nation and a state built on In God We Trust.
That's State Senator Mays Middleton, who claims the separation of church and state is a myth. Legislation part of a broader push by conservative Christians in Texas to put more religion in public schools.
And this bill expands our religious liberties in our public schools.
Yeah, so if they were able to pass this bill, the districts would need to allow students time for prayer and reading of religious texts while they sit at their desk in their classroom.
In Texas, our schools are not God-free zones.
Another bill would mandate the posting of the 10 Commandments in all classrooms. The Vatican says Pope Francis is decreasing his use of mechanical ventilation now.
Officials say the Pope did not require any mechanical ventilation Monday night, indicating a gradual improvement to his condition. He underwent high-flow oxygen during the night. The update added that his medically prescribed diet now includes solid food. The Holy See press office says while the decrease in mechanical ventilation is positive news, it should be viewed with caution as part of a gradual reduction process. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Down in Florida, we're watching this battle that's been happening in a number of cities across the country. There's a theater in Miami Beach that is about to play this Oscar-winning documentary, No Other Land. This is a movie about what's been happening in Gaza, and some say it's too anti-Israel, should not be shown. And so there is money that's used for this movie theater, and they're claiming they're going to take it away now if they show this movie, No Other Land. Here's a lawyer for the movie theater who says, that's unconstitutional.
He calls it anti-Semitic. Well, he simply does not like Palestinian advocacy. He doesn't like criticism of Israel, and that's what this is about.
The claim is that the movie is anti-Semitic, but what this lawyer suggests, who's defending the movie theater, says even if it is anti-Semitic, it's protected free speech, this movie.
And they're going to be sued by the ACLU, and I think it's a slam dunk for the ACLU.
We've actually seen this battle go on in a number of cities across the country, Miami Beach not being the first.
So it's both plainly unconstitutional and also a piece with his history of trying to silence criticism of Israel.
Summer, of course, is coming, which for many means it's going to be allergy season. Really, for spring brings on allergy season. And the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America is out with their annual ranking of the cities where you'll suffer from allergies the most.
Sneezing, itching, rubbing your eyes. The 2025 Allergy Capitals Report is out.
Okay. Group's president is Kenneth Mendez, says it's based on pollen counts, over-the-counter medicine use, and the number of allergy doctors. So that's how they come up with this list of the worst places to suffer from allergies.
The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America ranks city areas by how challenging they are to live in with seasonal allergies.
All right, well, how about a list of the allergies?
Visit allergycapitals.org
the cities, rather,
to see how your area ranks and to learn how to manage your symptoms and find relief.
Okay, so I guess I have to look it up myself. So here's the list of the cities where you'll suffer the most from allergies. Wichita, Kansas is number one. New Orleans, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Memphis, Little Rock, Raleigh, Richmond, Greenville, South Carolina, and Greensboro, North Carolina. You know, the funny thing is those are probably a list of places that you'd probably never want to live, me too. So not only would you be suffering from terrible allergies, but you might not want to live in those places either.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash, LLC, specializing in the transportation of cash, utilizing highly trained security personnel. Call now and speak with a live operator. 1-800-801-9471. Secure Cash services include transporting cash, precious metals, and jewelry in armored trucks. ATM cash replenishment services. SecureCashLLC.com. Cash management simplified. 800-801-9471. 800-801-9471. It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the news with Noah on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 19th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. The high going to be 61. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 46. And then Thursday, we'll have showers in the morning, clouds in the afternoon, the high only going to be 52. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 37 clear in Mount Kisco up in Westchester County. 36 and clear in Lebanon over in New Jersey. And it's 43 and clear right outside our Midtown studio. WABC News Time 540. Who loves their mechanic? It's rare. I happen to love the mechanic I've been using for, God, it's been probably 30 years now. But usually people complain. But now we have this murder mystery in Queens of a beloved mechanic, somebody people had known for about 40 years. The 65-year-old, they did not name him, found dead inside McNico Auto Works. This is on Cross Island Parkway in the Whitestone area of Queens. He was found dead Monday around 3 p.m. by his brother, who showed up at the auto body shop. Neighbors say they can't imagine anybody having a grudge against this guy.
You couldn't ask for a better person to fix your car. Honest person, really. Just a nice guy. I can't believe this happened to him.
The auto shop owner had cuts on his neck and arm. How he died, well, that's still under investigation today. Sources say the man, though, found by his brother, who he ran the auto shop with for decades. Longtime customers were showing up all day yesterday saying, I can't believe that he's dead.
He was a nice guy, real nice guy. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better guy. You bring your car right away, no problem, no problem. We'll get it done. It's
rare that someone talks about a mechanic like that. New York City medical examiner now working to determine the cause of death.
No in my dreams. Like, I just shocked. That's why I stopped here and I saw the police here and said, what's going on?
Yeah, this guy's so beloved that a tiny makeshift vigil popped up outside the auto repair shop yesterday. There was a bunch of shots fired up in the Bronx yesterday. This was about 8:30. A 23-year-old hit in the ankle, shoulder, and left bicep. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors thankfully say he's expected to make a full recovery. Police not saying a whole lot about why and how he was shot.
You see how the police are now? They didn't act like that then. Today, you don't even see them on patrol. They're never on patrol. I don't care what anybody says. You get angry at me what you want. This is the way I was brought up, and this is what it is now.
So the latest they gave us this morning that they think there may be 3 people who are behind this shooting. Why they were shooting, a motive, we do not know. But police are looking for that 3 individuals. In fact, you can see pictures of them over at WABCRadio.com. 2 large protests taking place in Times Square last night after Israel shattered the ceasefire agreement with Hamas with those surprise airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu say the stalemate on that ceasefire had gone far enough and that the negotiations with Hamas leaders had fallen apart, so they said they had the right to go in. The extensive aerial strikes hitting 80 targets inside Gaza over the last now about 36 hours, shattering that fragile ceasefire. And there's multiple reports that hundreds are dead. People in Times Square showing up for competing rallies last night. Here are the folks who are on the Palestinian side.
We are united with the Palestinian people.
It continues to be unimaginably cruel and inhuman, and I think everyone needs to continue to be outraged at every single death.
Yeah, watched on as police separated the two sides, the pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian, from one another.
How many Hamas do you think you're going to create when you kill a Palestinian family? Okay? You kill 10, you create 20. Where are we going? It's just war upon war upon war.
Israel's Prime Minister, again, Netanyahu, blaming Hamas for the collapse of the ceasefire, citing its repeated refusal to release the remaining hostages, including American-Israeli Idan Alexander, who's from Tenafly, New Jersey. The White House standing by as they have since Donald Trump took over back in January with Israel.
Those who seek to terrorize not just Israel, but also the United States of America will see a price to pay. All hell will break loose.
For the families of the 24 hostages presumed to still be alive today, of course, there's great fear now for their loved ones now that there is more bombing taking place in the Gaza Strip. They've been pressuring Bibi Netanyahu to work some sort of deal to get their loved ones home. There were pro-Israel demonstrations taking place right next to those pro-Palestinian ones. I will point out the Israeli side seemed to be much smaller, at least yesterday. One of the demonstrators who showed up says his biggest concern about Israel getting involved in this conflict is that things will get worse for Israelis.
But the conflict will get worse. You know, I lived in Israel for 25 years, and it only got worse with the years. And now, like, we hoped something would come out of this huge conflict, you know, it's like something permanent.
And he was asking the question that, of course, many will ask today is, what will Hamas do next now that they are being bombed again? People who live right on the Gaza Strip border, the Israelis, they've been told to move inward. Schools have been canceled as this conflict has heated up again. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Laden. We'll start here with the NBA in Boston. The Nets fell to the superior Boston Celtics by a score of 104-96. Boston rested injured stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown against the struggling Nets, but they still had plenty down the stretch to hold off Brooklyn. D'Angelo Russell led the Nets with 18 points. Zaire Williams scored 15, and Cameron Johnson and Trendon Watford added 11 points apiece. Coming up next for them, they'll visit the Pacers in Indiana come tomorrow night. As for the Knicks, they're back at it tonight in San Antonio, getting set for an 8 p.m. tip-off against the Spurs. You had your first dose of first four play-in action last night for the NCAA Men's College Basketball Tournament. Your final for the 11 seed in the South region. North Carolina bested San Diego State 95-68 after the Alabama State bested St. Francis 70-68. That was for the 16 seed in the South region. Tonight, your final two first four play-in games at 6:40 p.m. This is for the 16th seed in the East region. Mount St. Mary's will go against American University. Before 9:10 p.m. tip-off sees Xavier go against Texas for the 11th seed in the Midwest region. To the NHL and the ice of the Garden.
Who do you have as the winner in your bracket? Have you
I haven't filled out my bracket yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Who
plan
do you
on
think you'll put?
I plan on doing that at some point today. I mean, it's just tough to you end up doing this thing, and then you always end up with like three 1 seeds in the final four, because it's hard to get these random games. I don't watch a ton of regular season college basketball, and then you see these random 15 seeds going up against these somewhat random 9 or 10 seeds or whatever it is, and you don't know how those games are going to shake out. I mean, the 16 seed against the 1 seed, those games are relatively easy early on, obviously, in the round of 64. But then you get down into the round of 16 and then the Elite 8, and things begin to get tough, and it's hard not to go with the 1 seed in those scenarios. I don't know enough about college basketball to really analyze much further than that.
Just pick one. Pick like Duke. They're number 1 seed. It's probably
no, I'm gonna pick Houston instead.
Houston, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you picked Duke, and I don't want to pick the same team as you.
Right. I did pick Duke, actually, yeah.
To the NHL here, Noam and the ice of the Garden. The Rangers dropped a close one to the Calgary Flames. The final score there, 2-1. Up next to the Rangers, they'll host Toronto tomorrow night. To Pittsburgh, Pierre Engvall scored the tie-breaking goal in New York's 4-goal third period, and the Islanders rallied to beat the Penguins 4-2. They'll host the Montreal Canadiens next. That's tomorrow night. And you do have regular season baseball today. Another dose of the MLB World Tour Tokyo Series, 6:10 a.m. first pitch, Dodgers against the Cubs. The Dodgers won yesterday 4-1. That is your Sports Now, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. People in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, really fired up about a homeless shelter that's going up in the neighborhood. Residents say they were told that what was going to be built there was affordable housing and that the city did a bait and switch, and the last minute told them they're putting a homeless shelter there.
I got a phone call. Did you know that you gave the rights to a homeless shelter? I said, what? This was affordable housing as well as rental units. It was not supposed to be for a homeless shelter.
Yeah, you have some parents who drop off their kids at a nearby daycare center. They say that's not good having a homeless shelter there.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with homeless people, a homeless shelter. It is not about that. It is where it is placed.
We are also concerned because these are our neighborhood. Our parents drop off these kids. They live here.
Mayor's office says the shelter will offer 169 homeless families, including children, support to get back on their feet. And the people in Sheepshead Bay say that's good, but not what you promised what was going to be built here.
It's a matter of the process. If you go and vote, the community give their input. How are you going to just get up and say, I'm going to change it? If it was that way, then why we were involved?
Yeah, well, she's right. The head of the MTA says he's confident congestion pricing will remain in place ahead of the White House's Friday shutdown. MTA Chair Jan Oliver says the federal government would have to be granted an injunction in order to turn off the toll cameras to enter below Manhattan's 60th Street. President Trump, of course, has promised to douse the program and set a drop-dead date of this Friday. But the MTA says the White House does not have a leg to stand on. Here's Jan Oliver.
This is not a test of wills. It's just the reality of when you have a dispute, things don't change until a court orders it, and that has not yet taken place. And we don't expect it will because we're on pretty strong legal footing.
So Lieber says the program has gone through every hoop to get federal approval, did so during the Biden White House, and that it can't be unilaterally rescinded.
The congestion pricing program with all the benefits in terms of faster travel and time savings for New Yorkers, whether you ride a bus or drive, is going to continue.
And it all comes over the weekend. Governor Hochul was down in Washington meeting with the president. One of the topics they talked about was congestion pricing.
And made the case about all the data, the perception that it is hurting the city. I challenged. I said ridership is up 10%. People are still coming in. The sidewalks are packed. Broadway sales are up 21%.
Yeah. Every time I say this, I get hammered, but I'll say it anyway. So far, congestion pricing has been great for me. That commute home, oh my God, so much faster. LaGuardia Airport getting some more accolades now.
It used to be the airport that we love to hate and was once described as an airport that could be in a third world country. But now LaGuardia is being recognized as one of the best airports in the country by Forbes Travel Guide. The guide surveyed industry experts and some 5,000 frequent flyers and asked them which airport is best. The recognition comes after the Queens Airport underwent $8 billion in renovations that took 10 years. Lisa G. for 77 WABC News.
Let's go back up to Albany, where Governor Hochul says the tariff war between Canada and the U.S. is continuing to hit New York State hard. She says the average New York family will feel it over the course of a year.
People are going to understand very clearly the impact that this is having on their everyday lives. I mean, the average family possibly paying upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 more for everything. And the war is just getting started.
So she's pointing to the fact that fewer Canadians are crossing the border to visit the U.S. She says that's the word she's gotten from Manhattan hotel managers and places in Buffalo, too, where people normally from Canada might visit.
Too, if every unit goes up more because the cost of steel, aluminum, and lumber goes up, of course there's going to be a suppressant effect on our ability to build more housing. That is enormously frustrating. I mean, I was in Manhattan asking what occupancy is like in the hotels, and they said many Canadians are canceling reservations. Places like theaters in Buffalo are feeling the effect.
All right, 5:55. This creep got caught, thankfully. NYPD just sending us this information about a vandal that struck twice at least yesterday morning, may have been more, damaging precious statues at Buddhist temples in Lower Manhattan. Someone took this violent path to a handful of beautiful Buddhist temples in Chinatown overnight. Someone grabbed the fire extinguisher at one temple on Pike Street and whacked the large statues that graced the front, then smashed smaller statues to pieces. And, of course, incredibly upsetting to the people who show up at this congregation.
I feel very sad about it, because to have something as beautiful as these temples being damaged like this is just too terrible.
Yeah, so then after that, they went to the World Buddhist Center, this jerk on Henry Street. Man can be seen knocking out surveillance cameras, but thankfully not before they caught a clear image of him, and that was that's how they were able to capture him. But meanwhile, there's just a mess these Buddhist temples have to clean up this morning.
If you have any troubles, we'll help you or seek medical attention, but please don't vandalize our religion.
You know, I'm going to play that again because this is a member of one of those Buddhist temples who says he feels sorry for the person who carried out these crimes, and he said he'd offer help to them.
If you have any troubles, we'll help you or seek medical attention, but please don't vandalize our religion.
Yeah, all right, that's plain and simple.
Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.